Here is the grid roll for race 1 for the BNT V8s. John McIntyre and Tim Edgell make up the front row. A great lap in qualifying from Johnny Mack. A row 2 start for the defending champ Craig Baird alongside the first of the Holdens, Paul Manuel.
Then we go back to row 3 and we see Andy Knight and Kane Scott, two big hard charges, which we're going to see big things from, Jamie. And then going back to the next row, the sensation of qualifying on my behalf anyway, Martin Short, followed by old Boothie.
Go back to the next row, and it's Scott McLaughlin, the young Kiwi out of Queensland, alongside Angus Fogg, who had some problems in qualifying, and Jason Bargwana, the next to the Aussies, in 11th alongside of Hayden McKenzie.
They've got William Bamber having his debut in the class, and of course the evergreen Simon Richards. We know how he has a charge. Andrew Anderson, I must admit, disappointed in qualifying. We know he can come through, and Nick Ross beside him.
Then we go back to a disappointed Eddie Bell, more from that in 17th alongside John Penny in 18th. John Hepburn next alongside Christina Orr. And completing the lineup at Pukekohe, it's David Hopper from grid number 21. Well, we've been waiting for this all through the off-season, the new season for the BNT V8s. And Mark Pedersen, you've got to say, probably some unanswered questions as we go on board with Johnny Mack.
Yeah, look, does he look composed? You'll see the hose going to the top of the helmet, Jamie. What that does, it actually pumps pure air through the system, so you're not getting all the carbon monoxide, all the stuff. That's why his visor's down. Look, Johnny is going to pounce from lap 1, we know that. The thing about qualifying is he was throwing that car in to get the time for it. The guy next door to him, Tim Edgell, he was doing it nice and easy, so to speak. We didn't see him use much road in qualifying, so look, if I'm going to put my lazy $10 of my wife's money on this, I say Timmy's going to come through.
Another onboard camera with another former two-time series champion, Kane Scott. New colours on the Fujitsu Ford, and he's been quietly confident rolling into this first race of the weekend, a one to watch. Paul Manuel in the Oryx Commodore, the first of the Commodores qualifying in 4th. And talking to Paul this morning before the race start, looking at their data, they were on for a sub-61 in qualifying, apart from that big moment up over the top of Ford Mountain.
Yeah, like he said, he basically gave him 3 or 4 tenths, which probably demoted him back further field. But the other one's Angus Fogg, of course. He had a gearbox failure in the last part of qualifying. The guys tried to turn that car around. They couldn't quite get the new gearbox in on time, so that's why he's in 10th place. Also, the United Video car, they're saying they actually found a bad wiring loom in that car, so that may have been causing sufferance of speed. Look, to be honest, I don't know. I think they're just suffering overall.
Looking out the front of the pole man, John McIntyre, two-time series champion. 51 wins in BNT V8 competition over 10 years.
Yeah, they told me that. It's just staggering numbers. But here we go. This is the pre-psyche, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. These guys are rubbing. This is what I said before. Martin Short and Scott McLaughlin. Hang on, guys, because the cars behind you are going to be hitting you. The guy beside you is going to be psyching you out, and that's even before this race starts.
Well, it's starting before the start line. Get ready for action. Race 1 from Pukekohe Park Raceway for the BNT V8s. John McIntyre, Tim Edgell, and all Ford front row. Where would you want to be right now heading down to the race start?
Safety car.
Well, I don't know about that, but I don't think we will see the safety car at some stage. I think we're going to go racing down to the lead. Tim Edgell gets the jump down at the start-finish line. Wonderful colour, 21 cars barrel down into turn number 1.
Well, look, there's Paul Manuel trying to go around the outside. We've seen that work in the Formula Ford. He's got away with it here without losing any spots. But what's going to happen the second half of the field of the concertina?
A little bit of contact, I think, between Manuel and and Craig Baird going down. There's Johnny Hepburn, new red colours for the driver from the south.
Oh, look at that rear wing flexion on Johnny McIntyre's car. But hey, look, Tim Edgell, well done. He called the start. He got the jump, come across. This is the battle that's going to unfold. We know these two guys had a bit more car speed than the rest of the field. So what can they do with it?
Well, it's the first time in real anger in race conditions with the new performance friction brake package. That's been one of the big talking points over the weekend on board, with Kane Scott chasing down Andy Knight. Hayden McKenzie drops a wheel off the exit of turn, off the hairpin. Andrew Anderson to the outside of Simon Richards. You got to say, Mark, a relatively clean opening lap, some sensible stuff first up.
Exactly right, Jamie. You alluded to it. Going down the back straight, that was the first time in anger racing conditions these guys have had to go with this new brake package. The fact they got around in one piece, congratulations,
Kane
guys.
Scott to the inside of Andy Knight. Knight loses 2 positions because that's towed Andy Booth through, another former two-time series champ, now wearing the colours of the Rock FM as they file through the S's on lap number 2.
Look, these are big, heavy cars, Jamie, and the minute you get out on the marble marbles or the dirty stuff on the outside, it's hard to bring the car back, and the freight train will just come through, as we saw.
So 12 laps, Tim Edgell. It's been a big week for Tim Edgell. Sadly, Tim's father-in-law, Ray Hart, who was a well-known racing identity in kart sport, passed away early on in the week. Timmy missed the shakedown on Friday for the funeral, so all of our heartfelt wishes go out to the Hart family.
Absolutely, condolences there. And of course, Craig Beard knew Raymond very well. That's why he's got the black armband on. And a lot of these guys coming through here, especially in the karting, would have been influenced by Raymond at some stage of their career.
Shot there of Martin Short in the zone. Classic hits forward, racing for the Tony Richards team out of Pyro. He's done a great job in qualifying, the reigning New Zealand Formula 4 champion. There's Angus Fogg going through a good qualifying effort too from William Bamber, who just hasn't had a lot of seat time this weekend with some dramas in qualifying. So let's have a look at the race start. And probably one of the cleanest starts we've seen here at Pukekohe for many a year, other than Craig Baird and Paul Manuel disputing a little bit of territory down into one.
Yeah, they got away. They see Paul just kind of trying to get on there, and Craig was coming through. But look, smart, mature driving. These guys have got a bit of respect for each other. You see William in the background getting a little bit crossed up. But look, this race is starting to settle in now.
Well, yeah, lots of flames. Jason Bargwanna. Jason Bargwanna. McIntyre pulls up along the outside.
He's going to stay there.
He's got the inside run up over the top of Ford Mountain. Johnny Mack seizes the opportunity. Through to the lead goes the two-time former series champion.
Wow, and you can't help but think they've actually engineered this car to come on strong. We've seen this from time and time again. Johnny will concede a little bit of pace for the first couple of laps, knowing from 3, 4, 5 and 6 that his car comes on strong, and that's how he likes to drive it. So
John McIntyre through to the lead, just caught Timmy Edgell. Timmy might have got a bad run off the hairpin. Here's a look at the replay, and he's just pulled up alongside. That's commitment and that's trust between two great rivals. Yeah, that's the respect that these guys win, and that's why they win championships and can race wheel to wheel without actually thinking. Andy Booth!
No, Boothie.
That's into Hydrolink. That's onto the back straight. So what's happened there with the Rock FM Holden?
Right front wheel. Oh no, sorry, it was just a bit of lock there. Me getting a bit excited.
Yeah, here's the onboard shot looking out the back of Kane Scott's.
Well, he just fired it straight ahead there.
It may have broken something in the steering, Mark. You might have been right there. We'll wait and see if he comes back on track. So dramas for Andy Booth and the Rock FM Holden. That's undone some pretty solid work this weekend for the AV8 team. Angus Fogg sideways up over the top of Ford Mountain.
Look, magnificent pictures here, aren't they? And this is such a fast part of the track. Unless you're here driving these cars, you just can't do justice to it, to be fair.
So John McIntyre just controlling things out in front, approaching the halfway mark of race one for the BNT V8s. Here's a shot in the office.
Yeah, look, he's just so composed, isn't he? Look, checking the mirror there. The reason why he's adjusting it is when you see these guys hit the rebel strips, the vibrations come through, it drops the mirror down, and sometimes it can be a bit disconcerting, Jamie, when you look at it and you can't see anything. But he's just plucking the gears, he's in fourth gear, getting ready, confidence grab, how hard on the brakes, all the weight transfers to the front. To Edgell, nothing will come of that. It's just a bit of really a dummy, as they call that.
So they're from about 240 plus kilometres an hour down to as low as 53. Yeah, Boothie has definitely got dramas. His race is over. That's a devastating start for the former two-time series champ.
Look, maybe that front tyre, there was something wrong with it because it's totally uncharacteristic for Boothie to go off where he did.
There's Angus Fogg going through, Andy Knight, Jason Bargwanna ahead of Martin Short, and Scott McLaughlin doing a good job there inside the top 10. Andy Anderson, Simon Richards. There's Eddie Bell. Now, Eddie Bell's really struggled this weekend with car setup. Engineer Luke Dinsdale made some setup changes at the front of that car, and they realised their roll centre setup was different, and overnight they've put in an incredible amount of work to try and get things back up and right to stop the front of that car binding up.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. They've done the best they can, but just sometimes the obvious just misses you, and it seems in this instance that they may have missed it. Look, those guys have worked around the clock to try to do a bit of a setup change for Eddie. We know Eddie knows how to win because he's defending champion of this round from last year. He will get there. It just may take 1 or 2 rounds in the new car, the new team to come right.
Well, they're not lacking for resources with the Tulloch Motorsport team running his teammate, the Jason Bargwanna, who's running in the Rock Energy Drinks machine. On board with Paul Manuel, with Kane Scott lurking in his mirrors. And there's the onboard from Scott, looking off the back of Manuel out to the front of Kane Scott, chasing him down. And again, more series champions. And it seems the former series champions are at the pointy end of the field already at the start of this weekend.
That's the way things are going to go, and really the only anomaly of that is Timmy Edgell, but you can't help but think with the pace he's got that at some stage he will be a series champion.
Well, they're everywhere because we've got one sitting in the commentary box.
Yeah, I know, so I'm sitting here and not inside the car, aren't I?
Yeah, it's definitely not me. So on board with Kane Scott. As we said a little bit earlier on, they were quietly confident. They lost a little bit of time yesterday going into qualifying because it broke a ball joint. Look at the dirt coming up off the kink, so someone's running pretty narrow down there. But Kane's had pretty good pace and testing all throughout the weekend with the Nigel Barclay run Racing Projects team.
Yeah, look, Nigel's doing a sterling job, isn't he? He's running this, Kane's car and Scott McLaughlin's car as well, and that's the influence, and we will see this team grow and mature as they go along, and everybody understands what they need to do to get towards the front end of the field. But the most promising thing so far, and I do appreciate we've still got 5 laps to go, is the strength of the Commodore of Paul Manuel, because we saw last time at this stage of the race, the Commodores used to drift right back. So obviously the suspension changes that they've allowed the Commodores are paying dividends, although it's only one car, I must admit.
And I think that translates to the third car in this picture, which is Scott McLaughlin, the 17-year-old, born here in New Zealand, but now lives up in Queensland. Has been racing with Stone Brothers Racing in the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Development Series this year. And they've obviously got pretty good car pace because that's a brand new race car and he hasn't had a lot of seat time in it, and that car hasn't had a lot of track time. Bargwana on the move here, Mark. He's up to 8th, having started in 12th. We heard the tyre squeal, and it's for Hayden McKenzie and Andrew Anderson.
Yeah, look, these guys are batting a long way down the field. So
here's the replay. Yeah, they've just both gone in there, and around is synchronised spinning.
Yeah, it is. Well, here we go. Martin Short, look, just trying to haul the car up.
Scotty McLaughlin's going to get the inside run. He's just outbraked himself there at the hairpin by the looks of it. Or has he got another problem? He's slowing by the looks.
Right, mate,
he's definitely slowing.
Smoke pouring out of it. That's normally a carburation issue, but look, he get up to speed. You can't help but think he might have just outbroken himself, and it's just taken him, you know, a couple hundred metres just to regather his thoughts.
Maybe just loaded the engine up, and it's just had a couple of stutters trying to get back on the throttle.
Exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there, Jamie.
Well, that's given Bargwana and Scott McLaughlin a position working forward, so that should. There's Bargwana rocking through. Scott McLaughlin. He's done such a good job this weekend for a brand new race car, the second of the cars with Racing Projects and Nigel Barclay.
Look, given the history of new guys coming into this category, you wouldn't have expected him and Martin Short, for that matter, to be in the top 10. But they've actually stood up, they've taken accountability and said, guys, we're here, we're not here to make the numbers, we're here to race.
Lap 9 of 12, John McIntyre leads the first race from Pukekohe Park Raceway for the BNT V8s. Don't go away, we'll be back with more after this. So John McIntyre leads with just 3 laps to go, but there's not a lot in it, Mark. Timmy Edgell is right there with him, and lurking in the background is the defending series champion, Craig Beard.
Yeah, look, if next time that car comes over the top of the hill, and that car, I mean Johnny McIntyre, it is suffering. You'll see the back of it stepping out, coming over the top of the hill, and what happens is that left rear tyre starts generating an enormous amount of temperature in it, and then you start losing grip in the rear of the car. So, you know, we've got 2 laps to go. I don't think that it's over yet.
2 to go for Johnny Mac, chased by Tim Edgell. Battles further back, Simon Richards, Nick Ross, John Penny. Nick Ross has had just so much bad luck heading into the start of the season, as Paul Manuel steps out under brakes. Kane Scott lurking underneath the rear wing of the Oryx Commodore. Nick Ross lost an engine at the media day 3 weeks ago, which in turn saw Andy Booth nearly get upside down in the sand track at the end of the back straight. Andy Anderson actually did a lot of damage to that race car. Nick lost a diff at Taupo in testing during the week, so they've had a really bad start to the pre-start of their season.
Yeah, but the good thing about that is it happened all in practice, not in racing conditions.
So Angus Fogg, it's an almost conservative Angus Fogg after the start last year here, Mark, of course, where he binned the car in qualifying, and it was a miracle to get the car back out for the first race.
Yeah, speaking of Angus, he's just got a whole different demeanour about him. He's nice and relaxed, and he's taking each race as it comes, knowing that each race is an accumulation towards the championship, and that's what the big prize that he's after.
Well, he's fitter than he ever has been. He's been doing high-altitude oxygen training as well, and he's been working on getting his mindset right. Instead of spending so much time worrying about the engineering of the car and the turning around of the car, he's concentrating on his driving. As we got a battle here.
I think he's going to take the benefit now. If Angus can stay there, he will get this position.
He's lost momentum though, sideways off the hairpin.
Yeah, right. Just blew it, as we say, coming out of the hairpin.
So Paul Manuel trying to hold on, and you talk about maybe losing some car speed. Paul just starting to back up into the clutches of the likes of Kane Scott and Angus Fogg as the top three have driven away.
They have, and that's the thing about having a battle and being defensive, is that you take the speed out of the other guys behind you, allows everybody in front to disappear.
Here's the replay. Fogg down the inside, trying to seize on the opportunity with Kane Scott ranging to the outside. A little bit of contact there on the left front corner. And actually, that's what unsettled the car, because he had to change direction to stop really getting to the back of Manuel harder than he did.
Actually done a very good job not driving right through Paul's car, because keep in mind, this is the first time these guys have ever done any real duration with the brakes, so that could be playing a big part of it.
Well, it's the last lap. John McIntyre with a little bit of breathing space ahead of Tim Edgell and the defending BNT V8 champion Craig Baird. Just a couple of corners left to go. McIntyre seized the opportunity early on in the race out of this corner to the left-hander in front of the pit entrance. Johnny Mack started, as he did last season, with a win in race number 1. Can he tie it up here? Up over the top of Ford Mountain it will be John McIntyre to take the first checkered flag of the 10-11 BNT V8 Championship from Tim Edgell and Craig Baird. Paul Manuel, the first Holden home in 4th, as the McIntyre team celebrate down in pit lane. So John McIntyre opens up his BNT V8 campaign with a win in race 1 at Pukekohe from Tim Edgell and Craig Baird for a Ford 1, 2 and 3. First of the Holdens home in 4th is Paul Manuel ahead of Angus Fogg and Andy Knight, and a top 10 finish for Jason Barguana and Scott McLaughlin.